Illinois football, a surprising 10-3 finish in 2024. A dark horse playoff contender, a chic pick to make the CFP. 12th ranking in the preseason AP and coaches poll. Could they back up the hype? This would be the first true test as they travel to Duke. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Illinois did not look the part in the first half. They finally wore down Duke and pulled away with an impressive second half, showing 45-19. Let's get to the specifics, with Duke taking a field goal lead on an opening drive, 3-0, as, Vincent Anthony whipped J.C. Davis, the Illinois left tackle, and Vincent Anthony, quite a player, as we talked about the Duke defensive line the entire offseason in this matchup, awaiting the Illini. Illinois had to punt. They got a touchback on what should have been a better special teams play in pinning Duke deep. So then Duke was able to get the field goal to go at 3-0. Hank Beatty proved to be the star of the day on the offensive side for Illinois. He came into this game having set a zillion-year-old record for Illinois, eclipsing Red Grange, the Galloping Ghost. Have you ever heard of him? If you love football, you should. Look him up. The Galloping Ghost's all-time punt return record eclipsed by Hank Beatty last week against Western Illinois, and he had a huge day, not as a punt returner this time around, but as a wide receiver. But before the Illini would kick it into gear on offense, Anthony with another sack on third down to stop Illinois. They would have to solve the Duke defensive line, and it would take some time. Quayshawn Brown with a muffed punt, though, for Duke gives Illinois a gift, as Tyler Strain was Johnny on the spot, and that set up Illinois at the Duke 18-yard line. At this point, the Dukies dominating on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Justin Bowick with a nifty sideline reception on third down to convert for Illinois and set up Caden Fagan's touchdown run. He eventually ran 17 times for 48 yards, and the Illini led 7-3. Next drive for Duke, Cooper Barkate with a drop that would have had Duke down to the 2-yard line, as Darian Mensah really showed off his arm, his playmaking abilities, and just his immense talent as a projected top 15 pick in the NFL draft. Darian Mensah, the Tulane transfer, 23 of 34 for 334 yards. Duke rushing at this point, 58 yards against that Illini front, giving up -6, and we are 12 minutes into the second quarter, and Duke is dominating the football game despite being behind 7-6. But Mensah led Duke down the field, but he missed a wide-open Barkate that would have been a touchdown. So a couple misconnections despite an impressive Duke passing game at this point, 7-6 Illinois. It was the thought process by many that Illinois' best approach would be protect Luke Altmyer, not just in the pocket, protect him in terms of play calling by leaning heavily on the run and wear down the Duke defensive line, and don't let them get that pass rush revved up as we saw in the first quarter with Vincent Anthony in particular. But Luke Altmyer was the star of this game as well, as Illinois moved it through the air. Cole Rusk with the touchdown reception, as Altmyer went high into the back of the end zone with a perfectly placed ball. 14-6 Illinois at this point. Duke coming right back. Mensah to Chase Tyler. His only catch of the day went for 62 yards. That set up Duke in prime real estate. However, number 85, Jeremiah Hasley, could not pull in Mensah's throw to the back of the end zone, and that would prove costly, because on the very next play, Gabe Jackus, Illinois' All-America defensive player, had a strip sack on a complete effort play, as he was not able to get pressure initially, but stayed with it, forced the fumble. Matthew Bailey recovered, and this would be the narrative of the day. Duke moving the ball down the field, Illinois making the big plays in the key situations, especially in terms of turnovers. It would eventually be 5-0 Illinois. Duke and Mensah coming back again, though. Andrell Anthony via Oklahoma and Michigan of the transfer portal. The toe tap in the back of the end zone. The officials confirmed it on the review. 14-13 Illinois. And again, Duke is dominating statistically, but the issues, the penalties, and the turnovers on Illinois' side, keeping the Illini in the game as we move to the second half. Duke's defense in that first stanza gave up -4 yards rushing, had 8 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. The -4 rushing, though, for Illinois would turn into 127 rushing yards in the second half as they wore down the Duke defense. We're midway through the third quarter, and Duke forces a punt. However, a ridiculous situation in which Duke has double jerseys on the field. They forced Illinois to punt on the 3 and out. However, they had to give up the football. Illinois gets a second crack at it, gets the ball back, gets gifted a first down, march right down the field. The first play, it's Altmaier to Beatty for 37 yards. That knocked out Duke's best defensive back, Caleb Weaver, who had 9 tackles on the day. He would return eventually. Justin Bowick with a touchdown, and Illinois got a 21-13 lead at this point. More Duke mistakes and more turnovers by the Blue Devils, but not after they complete some more impressive passes downfield. This time it's Samir Higgins after a long 24-yard completion. Matthew Bailey forced the fumble along the sidelines, and Illinois once again takes over. We mentioned Beatty's big day, 8 receptions, 128 yards. He gets the completion, plus the roughing the passer sets up Illinois at the Duke 25 on a 4-play, 61-yard drive that was culminated by a fake reverse, beautifully blocked, just split the seam, and it's Beatty once again adding to his 128 receiving with the 25-yard touchdown run, 153 yards for Beatty, and Illinois leads it at this point 28-13. Duke had one more run in them. They march right back down the field. 4th and goal this time. Mensah finds Anthony again, who beats one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. Xavier Scott completely abuses him on the in route. 28-19. Duke needs to go for 2 to cut it to a 1-score game, but the Illinois pass rush comes through on the 2-point attempt. Mensah has to throw it away. 28-21 at that point. But Duke was not done. They were just down 9. Plenty of time, and they come rolling right back down the field, completing passes until they get to the red zone once again. Mensah down the left sideline left it a little bit short, and Tanner Heckel made a heck of a leaping interception. And that pretty much did Duke in as Illinois came right back down the field. They finally, in the fourth quarter, got the running game going. I mentioned -4 in rushing in the first half for Illinois, 127 on the board in the second half. Luke Altmaier played a heck of a ball game as well. Duke did outgain Illinois, 438 to 423. Illinois wins at 45-19, and the turnover battle significant in this one, 5-0 Illinois. Now we look ahead as the Illini take on Western Michigan next week, and then it's the huge Big Ten opener at Indiana. For Duke, they've got an interesting affair at Tulane next week. Of course, that's Darian Mensah's former team, and the Blue Devils fall to 1-1. Quite a game, despite the 26-point spread. Illinois had to fight hard for it, and Duke actually looked like the better team in the first half, but the games are won in the fourth quarter, and Illinois was the stronger, more physical team when it counted, and the deeper team that didn't make the mistakes. Your thoughts about Illinois football as the Illini pass their first big test of the season, and of course the next one is coming up in 2 weeks in Bloomington. Illinois, Duke, your comments down below, right here at the Voice of College Football.